Hey y'all, it's your girl Nini, and this is another episode of Hot Tea with Nini. On this episode, we will be discussing Leslie Wexner, former owner of Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works, and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. One really can't talk about Leslie Wexner without mentioning how he revolutionized specialty shopping and how many stores he actually owned. It wasn't just Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works. He owned hella stores. Now the remaining one is the New Albany Company. Everything else is sold. It all started in 1963 when our guy Leslie opened the Limited with a $5,000 loan that was given to him from his aunt Ida. This would become important because in the 80s, he blew up for what is known as the Forenza sweater. That was the first time this mother got rich. And the Forenza sweater was revolutionary because it was European style brought to the States on an affordable dime. Leslie Wexner would go on to acquire 9 other prominent fashion brands, revolutionizing specialty stores in the malls in America. Now, this isn't to glorify Leslie Wexner. You need to know how much power, how much influence, and how much money this man really had. And you need to know who the man was behind Leslie Wexner because he didn't act alone. From 1987 to 2007, Jeffrey Epstein acted as Leslie Wexner's financial advisor. Jeffrey was given power of attorney, giving him full access to Leslie's money and Leslie's property. Let's not forget he had all access, even access to the Victoria's Secret angels. One might say that Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't be the man he is today without all of the money that he funneled from Leslie Wexner. Leslie Wexner is the richest man in Ohio. He is a billionaire. He also was an old fucking creep. In the late 90s, early 2000s, Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie and Fitch was like perverted as modeling shit going on, like naked men, naked women. Mm, mm, mm. All makes sense now that we are where we're at today in 2026 looking back. On February 18, 2026, after nearly 2 decades of accusations and other information swirling around, Leslie Wexner was finally brought in front of the Oversight Committee to tell his story on how close exactly he was with Jeffrey Epstein. Leslie Wexner basically said that he got by Jeffrey Epstein and he didn't know what he was getting himself into. And it wasn't until 2008 when Jeffrey put a plea deal in for running a prostitution ring that Leslie Wexner finally cut ties with this man. So in this hearing, Leslie Wexner was asked a lot of questions about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, their friendship, also if he had knowledge of the things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Basically, this old man had said that he was unaware and he wasn't that close with Jeffrey and they weren't friends, but he was caught in a lot of little lies and basically getting things mixed up. And you can't blame old age or bad health on this because he looks pretty damn spiffy to me and he was pretty alert. Now, there were quite a few red flags during this interview. One of them being how his response times were on questions that you would say that he may have been prepped for, allegedly, or on questions that he didn't see coming. He tried to kind of play that dementia role, but like he knew things from the 80s that he spit right off the top of his mind. So I would say he had selective memory. Then another red flag for me was how he repeatedly said him and Jeffrey Epstein were not friends. But however, Jeffrey Epstein was invited to a surprise birthday party of Leslie Wexner's by his wife, Abigail, and she was out here inviting friends. So she thought they were friends. I would assume if your wife thinks that somebody's your friend, that's your friend. Another red flag was when Leslie Wexner was asked about his knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, specifically Virginia Giuffre and Maria Farmer, because they both had made reports with the FBI naming Leslie Wexner as one of those billionaires that were in close proximity during their abuse, one of them detailing an abuse taking place on Leslie Wexner's Ohio estate. Think is very important to note here is that if it wasn't for Leslie Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein would never have had the way to purchase his private jet, because the private jet that Jeffrey Epstein actually owned was purchased through an investor group that worked closely with Leslie Wexner. Now, let's hear a little bit of the interview so you can see some of the red flags.
Mr. Wexner, I appreciate the context, but when was the last time you were in contact with Mr. Epstein?
I have no recall.
Did you have any contact with Mr. Epstein after 2008?
What happened in 2008 again?
Mr. Epstein entered a plea deal related to the solicitation of minors.
Oh, okay. Never talked to him, never saw him. As far as I was concerned, once we knew how bad he was dead.
Mr. Epstein ever asked you for personal favors of any kind?
Not that I recall.
I don't know about y'all, but it looks like my guy recalled some shit right there and he just didn't want to say it.
Did you ever ask Mr. Epstein for personal favors of any kind?
No.
How involved was Mr. Epstein in your personal life?
I didn't. I could think about that. Not at all, really. I think he met Abigail after we were engaged, and he didn't know we were going to be engaged, because I didn't discuss my personal life with him or anything. Just he was kind of the business manager of my personal affairs, and at the time, I probably had 20 CEOs reporting to me. And so I had I was used to having business relationships with people, whether it's attorneys, accountants, investment banks that we were doing business with, at commercial banks, but I never had personal relationships with people that I worked with. I was pretty much a loner.
Leslie Wexner wants you to believe that him and Jeffrey Epstein were never friends. But it's hard to do so when there's evidence that there definitely was something there. The next thing that came up during this hearing was this birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein from Leslie Wexner on January 20th, 2003. And it said, "Dear Jeffrey, I wanted to get you what you want, so here it is." And it's a pair of boobs. And it says, "Happy birthday, your friend, Leslie." I'm sorry, Leslie, but people that just work together don't give each other those type of birthday cards. You don't just share that type of humor with anybody. You have to share humor with somebody that gets it. And I'm sure Jeffrey got it. If Leslie Wexner was hiding a mere friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, then what else was he hiding? Whether the money was actually given to Jeffrey Epstein or stolen from Leslie Wexner, either way, it is Leslie Wexner's money that funded Jeffrey Epstein through the 80s all the way up until the present day. Without Leslie Wexner, there wouldn't be a Jeffrey Epstein. And that is why I made this video today, because it highlights the importance of their relationship and where Jeffrey got his funding. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Hot Tea with Nini, and make sure you stay tuned for part 2 of The Billionaire That Funded Jeffrey Epstein.